In times like now, with inflation running rampant and interest rates continuing to tick higher, it could leave you tempted to make those quote unquote money moves. One of the things that I was asked by a potential client was, should I tap into my retirement account for debt? If you're human, you may have even had similar thoughts. Maybe it wasn't your retirement account, but maybe it was some other account that you just wanted to tap into for the short term. Today, I want to show you why this thought, while it's simple in nature and human, of course, carries a huge consequence, monetarily speaking, in today's episode. At the end of this, I hope I can wipe that thought away and challenge you to think differently as you navigate your personal finances and the decisions that you come up with. Here we go.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
What is up? And thank you for joining me today on the Financial Mirror as we continue to improve the one thing that you can control, yourself. If this is the first time that you are joining in, don't forget to hit the subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you are listening on a podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave the 5-star review, written comments. All of those go a long way in getting this information out to more listeners. As we all know, the better our communities are around finances, the better our communities are, right? So the more people that we can get on board, the more people that we can get educated about finances, the better everything is, right? Like, because the less reliant people are on all these other components of assistance, and we can create some very foundationally strong families financially. So that is sort of my intro. You saw the title. Where did the title come from, right? You see the title, whether you're on a podcast, whether you're on a video. Why tapping into your retirement is an awful idea. And I mean, double exclamation right here. This is an awful idea. But where did it come from? Well, great question. If you heard the intro, you kind of have an idea. But I had a potential client reach out to me, and you can see it on the screen. If you're on the podcast, I'm going to read it verbatim. Hi, I am looking to take money out of my IRA in order to pay down some debt. Is this something you can assist with? And I heard this. My heart dropped, right? My heart dropped. Why? Well, because I've never done an episode on it. I've never really talked about this. I've never really talked about this human factor where we see all this money in this retirement account. We've been saving, we've been building, we've been growing our retirement. And all of a sudden you're like, man, I have debt, and apologize for that. Changed my screen up. I have debt, and what do I do about it? Right? Like, what do I do about it? I have this debt and I have this huge money invested in this account and I can't touch it. Should I take it out? Right? Well, I'm not lying to you. Like, I saw it and I was like, oh, I have never done an episode around this particular instance. So I instantly said, I'm going to add this to my list of episodes. And here we are. We are now at this episode. And I want to say this: when you have a big financial priority, right? This could be a medical bill. This could be debt. This could be any other thing. When you have something in your life, and it doesn't, let me backtrack. It doesn't have to be financial, right? When you are in a situation where you don't really know how to get out, your body, your brain just wants to survive. Like, it just wants to survive. That's all. Like, that's our instinct. Our instinct is to survive. Like, we want our body and our brain is so ready for these type of things. Like, it's sitting there and it's just waiting and it's just wanting to help you survive. And it's like, yep, let me step in right here. I've got this grand idea. You have all that debt. I'm about to make it all go away. Let's hit that retirement account up. Okay. Sometimes our body, like instinctively, like it just wants us to survive, but it doesn't, when it's in those moments, it's not going to, it doesn't think clearly all the time. It doesn't think clearly at all, especially when we're thinking about this financial situation. So it isn't just with finances, but our body and our mind, it wants to help you survive. It wants to help you make sure that you're okay, because life or death on the line. This isn't a life or death situation, but that part of your reaction, it is meant for the reaction of a life or death situation, right? Like that is the instinct that's kicking in. So financially, this could mean that you start making decisions that are not really, well thought out past the short term. I see this a lot with people that are struggling with their money. They're struggling with their money and they don't really see a way out. They start packing on credit card debt because that's how they just want to pay their bills. Versus, when they're in that moment, that might be the only way they see out. They'd be like, oh, well, I'll just use these credit cards. I'll pay them off as soon as I get my finances back together. And then their finances never get back together. Then they build up all this debt. And now they're just really in a pickle. They have no idea where to turn. But I see it all the time. And this could be a place that they turn. They see 30,000, they see 50,000, maybe they see 100,000 sitting in a retirement account while they're feeling overwhelmed and burdened by debt. They see that money and they're like, let me just tap into that. Let me get that, pay off this debt, and everything goes away, right? All my problems go away. Well, not really. Today, I want to dig deeper into this. Today, I want to show you why tapping into your retirement account for any reason is not really wise, right? I will say that I am a Dave Ramsey coach, and if you look at Ramsey for guidance on this, if you have ever heard him talk about this, you're going to know that he talks about if you're going hitting a bankruptcy opportunity or a foreclosure opportunity in your life, and that's sort of the place you're at, he'll talk about that's an option to tap into these retirement accounts. But I would challenge that a little bit to say, is there something else that you can do first, right? Is there something else that you can do first? And I always want to go with that. I always want to think situations through, because I don't want to just resort to tapping into the retirement account, taking that easy route out, and trying to navigate the situation. So this is a great episode. I hope you get out of it exactly what I hope you do. But I want to show you, like, from a monetary perspective, why it's not smart. Why it's an awful idea to ever do. So let's jump into it. Number one is the penalty. So this is the easy one, right? Because if you didn't have, like, this individual wouldn't have asked if they didn't have some idea of what it would cost, right? If they didn't have the idea of what it would cost, that would have never created a situation. More than likely, they would have just done it. But they knew there was a cost. More than likely, they knew there was a cost. And that's the first part that's going to set you back, right? That is what's going to set you back the most. So the first thing, this is the short term set you back. The first thing you should know is that if you take money out of a 401k or IRA, specifically traditional IRA, you will pay a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. Okay. That's not the only cost, though. The other cost is you got to pay taxes on this, right? And since more than likely if you're needing that money, you don't have the tax money just sitting around that you're going to pay taxes on this with. So you're probably going to have to pull that out too. So let's break this down. Let's say that you wanted, so the early withdrawal, before we break it down, the early withdrawal fee is 10%. The taxes, you have to pay state and federal taxes as they're applicable. Some states, have different rules on income tax. I'm not a tax professional. Please talk to a tax professional as you're navigating the tax portion of this. But there's a 10% early withdrawal fee. Plus, you got to pay tax on it because now this is income to you, right? This is income to you. So let's just break it down. Let's say you want to pay a $5,000 debt, right? Credit card debt. So for that debt, you're going to need to pull out just about $5,000 or $7,000 just to get the $7,000 you need. Okay. And that's a rough estimate. And I tried to make it easy math. That was kind of my go here. So you can just sort of hear the numbers. I didn't want to be like, oh, you're going to need to pull out, you're going to live in the state of New York and you're going to pull out 7,800. Like, no. $1,000 credit card debt. You're going to need to pull out about 7,000, right? Give or take 7,000 just to get the 5,000 you need to pay off the debt. So let's bump that up. You needed $15,000 in debt. You're going to need to pull out just over $20,000 to get the $15,000. You see the problem here. Like you had to pull out about $2,000 extra dollars to pay off $5,000 in debt. To pay off $15,000 in debt, you had to pull out just over $5,000 extra just to cover the cost. Just to cover the cost of what this is going to cost you. So you may be thinking right now, I don't understand, but if you'll stick with me through this, you'll see, because so many people, there's a long-term effect to this, but so many people are like, I don't get it. Yeah. Okay. I'm willing to pay. I've got $5,000 in credit card, dude. I'm willing to pay $2,000 to get this out. Like I want this gone. Stick with me. Maybe you got the $15,000 and you're like, oh dude, I'm telling you, totally willing to pay $5,000 extra dollars to get out of this debt. Totally willing. Let's do it. So I hear you. But there is a long-term effect to this. This isn't just the $5,000, and that's the part I want to cover. Now, before I go on any further, I want to add one piece. I want to add one, specific piece, but there are exceptions. There are exceptions to the early penalty, the 10% early penalty. There are exceptions, and I don't want to go through this episode and be like, oh yeah, 10% of penalty always applies. Like there is no way to get rid of it. No. And like try to and be challenged at this later in my life. So what I'm telling you is there are exceptions. It could be, a death in the family, disability, medical expenses. There's some out there for like first time home buyers and, high education expenses. There are exceptions out there. I'm not going to sit here and act like there aren't. But I hope that at the end of this episode that you see that it's just not worth it. I hope that you see it's just not worth it. That even though there are exceptions to the 10%, don't forget, even though you may be exempt from the 10%, you still have to pay the taxes, which is that, like 30-ish% for federal and state. You still have to pay that. So don't think that just because the 10% is gone, that you just pull out 5,000, you spend 5,000 like that. No. You still got to pay the tax on it. And like I stated, more than likely you don't have that money just sitting there. So you're going to have to pull it out too, just to be able to pay for it. Okay. So that's the first part, is that the penalty will set you back in your retirement account. Now, I'm going to hit this next piece. I hope it helps. I hope this part helps because the penalty and the taxes are kind of the reason that you shouldn't. And like I said, at the end of this, I'm going to show you some true numbers that show you why you shouldn't. But before we get there, I wanted to tell you this. I follow Ramsey's baby steps with the clients that I work with. And let me tell you that you should not even be investing into your retirement until baby step 4. Okay. You should have already knocked out baby step 1, 2, 3, which is $1,000 in an emergency fund, which is all of your debt gone, which is 3 to 6 months expenses for step 3 in that emergency fund or in savings, right? Then we start investing into retirement. Make sense? Like that's when this all started. So when we look at that holistically, you can see that you shouldn't even, if you have debt, unless this debt is like brand new, like this is brand new debt, like this is COVID debt that you maybe started to spend, or maybe you lost a job, or maybe your income went down and you didn't have enough. So then you started using credit cards. Like this has to be new debt. This has to be some type of new debt. Because or you just didn't know about the baby steps, which is fine too, which is fine. But I want to tell you this, is that you should not be investing in retirement before you pay off your debt. Okay. So let's backtrack. If you are currently in debt, don't worry about tapping into the retirement account. Just stop funding the retirement account and start using that money to pay off debt. Okay. That's what I would show you. That's what I would tell you. So many people out there, they're going to tell you, and I'm telling you this because I'm a mind reader and I know exactly what they're going to say. Okay. I'm not a mind reader, but I know what they're going to say. They're going to tell you, yeah, but you know, your employer, they match that 401k, that 403b, they match. You have to invest. You at least need to invest and get the free money. Like at least invest up to the match and get the free money, right? That's what they're going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you that I wouldn't. Think about this. The average person gets out of debt in 24 months or less. When they actually go at it with some high intensity, they focus on it. They have one mission. I'm going to be out of debt. They normally knock it out in 2 years or less, right? So we have to, there's people out there that are in much bigger debt than others, but on average, the average person gets out of debt in 2 years or less. So if you just will stick to getting out of debt, then start filling your retirement. Oh my goodness, it will explode. Your retirement will take off. It will, go through the roof if you will just focus on one thing at a time. You're on baby step 2, meaning you have debt. Pay off the debt first. Focus on the debt. Don't even worry about your retirement account. Just let it sit there. Just if you currently have one, let it sit there. Don't contribute to it. Don't do anything to it. Just let it ride. Okay. I can't help but think when I hear that, my brain goes to when Russell Wilson, I'm a sports guy. Everyone knows I'm a sports guy. Everyone that listens to this knows I'm a sports guy, but Russell Wilson comes to the Denver Broncos, said, Broncos country, let's ride. Like, remember that? And then he had his worst season in the NFL ever. Anyways, totally off subject, but just let your retirement account ride. See, now you're thinking it too. I know you are. You hear it, Broncos country, let's ride. But the retirement account's just going, let's ride. Okay. So with that, we're going to go from funding our retirement account, even the match. We're going to give all that back to the company saying, you know what, thanks, but no thanks right now. Okay. So you'll be out of debt 24 months or less, more than likely, depending on how much debt you're in. But stick to getting out of debt, then fill your retirement account up. So once you're out of debt, think about all the extra money you'll have to go towards your retirement. You'll be living life. You'll have a grand life. You will have no debt. You will be taking steps forward, right? I tell all my clients, even though some have a net worth, like they have a positive net worth. It's not very much normally when I'm looking at it, but most of the time they'll have a positive net worth, but their debt, I always will tell them this, as long as you're in debt, you have a negative net worth. Now, could you say, I bought a house and this house is worth $200,000 and my loan's $100,000. So I don't really use house loans as consumer debt. This is like some type of consumer debt, like credit cards, personal loans, vehicle loans, all those kind of things. But could you have $100,000? Let's give you one. Could you have $100,000 in a retirement account and $15,000 in debt and have a positive net worth? Sure you do. Right? Sure you do. The problem is that until you learn the fundamentals, until you get the basics of finances down, that $15,000 in debt is going to either stay there or continue to grow because you have not changed the financial practice of your life. So if you continue to try to contribute to retirement, yeah, I'm sure you will continue to have a positive, net worth. But when I'm looking at this at the masses, if you will just pay off the debt first, it goes away so fast that the retirement, you don't really miss a beat. And that's kind of the part that I wanted to get across. You don't really miss a beat. So get out of debt, then worry about your net worth. Get out of debt, then worry about building your retirement. Okay? So how does this look? This is what I want to show you. How does this look? When you take money out of your retirement account, you lose compound interest. Okay? You lose out on compound interest. Compound interest is what drives us closer to retirement. Compound interest is what makes retirement possible. Could you think about if you had to, let's say there was no return on money, right? Like all money had a 0% return. Wouldn't it be nuts? Like you had to save as much money as you need to live through retirement. It's almost impossible, right? It's almost impossible. So thank goodness for compound interest. That's what helps drive us closer to retirement. So how you can look at compound interest in its easiest form is the rule of 72. You're looking at this on the screen. You can see, what rate of returns 1 through 10% and what that constitutes, right? But what it rule of 72 means is at a certain rate of return, that's how many, divided by, so 72 divided by a certain rate of return will give you how many years for your money to double. Okay. So for all of my examples today, I'm focusing on an 8% return, meaning it would take roughly 9 years to double. This is a rough estimate, right? So this is a rough estimate. For today, I'm going to be using a compound interest calculator, and it's got visuals and all, so you can see it. For those listening on a podcast, I'm going to walk through it. But what I want to show you is 2 examples. What I want to show you is, first example, that individual that reached out to me that asked about taking money out of a retirement account to pay off debt. I want to show you the loss, the monetary loss that individual would have if they did that. I want to show that to you. I'm going to show it to you. I don't know how much money that person has. I don't know how much debt that individual has. I just am going on that question alone. I created a little story that hopefully will drive this message home for you. So let's go back to the earlier example. Let's say you want to take $15,000 out to pay off debt, right? So you have a retirement, for this example, you're going to have a retirement account of $30,000. You're going to have $15,000 in debt. It's going to cost you $5,000 in penalty and taxes, right? And so you're going to take 20 out. You're going to be left with 10. Okay, that's the facts. That's what we know. For this example, you got $30,000 in retirement, 15 in debt. You're going to take 20 out so that you can pay the penalty, taxes, and the debt. You're going to be debt free, but your account value is going to be $10,000. Okay, because you took the 20 out. So let's take a look at this. In this example, I go to a compound interest calculator. I put this exact calculator in the notes of the episode. Okay. So if you'll look at my screen and you'll look at the notes and go to that calculator, you'll see what numbers to put in, and you can sort of start to get an idea of what your retirement looks like. And hopefully this all makes sense. But you could, if this was an idea you had, go in there and run the numbers and see how much you would have lost had you done this. I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind. So in this example, we're going to put under initial investment, we're going to put $10,000 because that's how much we have left, right? That's how much we have left. Monthly contribution. So if you wanted to fill that block out, I'm just running you through this calculator so you know how to fill it out for future reference, but I won't do this on all of them. But for monthly contribution, this is saying, I had 10,000 and I'm going to contribute an extra 100 every month. I want to see what my retirement would be. Length of time in years is just how many years till retirement. For this example, I'm focusing on 30 years. So for the example, we'll have $10,000 left over in the account because we had 30. We took out 20 to pay off our debt, and we have 10 left. 30 years is how long we're going to let this grow. 8% interest rate of return. That's what I told you I was going to stick to for this. This is kind of low, right? This is kind of low over the past, since like the 1920s or something, the market's returned like 11%, right? So looking back at our rate of return, I can't even see 11%, but it's probably 6 years. Meaning it would take 6 years to double, right? Every 6 years, your money would double. But let's stick to this example. So 10,000, no more contribution. Let's just say this 10,000 just grew without ever touching it, just letting it ride, length of time, 30 years for 8% return. How much would that be? Well, be $100,000. That's what compound interest does. You didn't touch it for 30 years and your 10,000 turned into 100,000 at an 8% return, right? At an 8% average return. So you got 100,000. Not too shabby, right? Not too shabby. $10,000 turned to 100,000 in 30 years. Now, let's go back to our example. You don't take that 20,000 out. You just leave the 30. Now, I'm going apples for apples here. So we're going to say that 20,000, we're not going to take the 20,000 out. We're going to figure out a whole new way to pay off our debt, whether that be we stop investing into retirement and we just use that money to pay off debt. But somehow, some way, we're going to figure out a new way to pay off our debt. We're going to leave that 30,000 alone. Okay, so let's go back to our calculator. 30,000, no monthly contribution. 30 years, same as the previous. The only variable that changed here was our 10,000 is now 30,000. That's the only difference here. We just didn't touch our retirement to take out money to pay off debt. So our 30,000 over 30 years at an 8% rate of return, I want to tell you, my friends, this equals $301,000. $301,000. So because you did not touch your retirement account, because you did not give in to this short-term feeling of success of that $20,000, $15,000 in debt being paid off, because you foregone that short-term success, your account is worth $200,000 more for that $15,000 that you were going to touch, right? $15,000 you were going to touch is now going to be sitting at $300K. It's mind blowing, right? Like that's real math. Like I don't really know how to say it any different, but that measly little $15K that you were going to touch to pay off debt, if you had just figured out another way, if you had just done something different, you would have 300,000 versus 100, right? So it would have cost you $200,000 200 years from now, right? And this is a very, very simple example. This is a very simple example because nobody's going to you're going to pay off debt in 2 years. You're going to not touch that. Maybe it takes you 5 years to pay off your debt. I don't know. But in 5 years, by not touching that, your account's already worth 200,000 more. Like you're not behind. You're not losing time by not touching that money to pay off that debt. You're not losing time. So many times people are so focused on the short term. People are so focused on that short win. They don't even look at that long-term impact, right? So I'm telling you now, you can see this. You can see exactly how this turns out. You can see it. 200K. So is it easier just to take the money out? Yeah, sure. It is. It's much easier. Like the money's sitting there. You could take it out. You could pay it back. You could do all these things. Yeah, it's easy. Like people will tell me, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to, but I'm going to put it back so fast that compound interest not even going to keep up with me. Like I'll get it right back." Sure. I can't tell you how many times I've been told that. I can't tell you how many clients that I've worked with that those are the same statements that I'm hearing. It just, I'm telling you right now, statistically, that does not happen. It doesn't happen. But it is easier. 100% is easier. It's easier to take that money out of the retirement account than to do the hard stuff, right? Because the hard stuff, like, tell yourself, I don't have to fund my retirement right now because I'm going to get out of debt. The hard stuff is stop eating out so that you don't spend so much money in that. The hard stuff is stop shopping at Amazon because you're broke. You don't have money, right? You're in debt. You don't have money. The hard stuff is to cut those subscriptions or limit it to one. I'm not even telling you to cut subscriptions. I'm not telling you to be in your house, like sitting in a corner, just like rotting away, right? But Maybe just drop to one subscription than the 15 that you currently paid for. I don't know. That's the hard stuff, right? But sometimes the right path's not the easiest, right? So the easy path is, sure, go pull out the money out of the retirement account. It costs you $200,000 in my example. It's an awful idea. It's an awful idea. And I'm telling you that there's other ways to get you out of debt. There's better ways to get you out of debt. But I hope that you see that. I hope that it's not just me talking. I hope that you really see that tapping into your retirement account is an awful idea. It's an absolutely awful idea. If you've had that thought in your mind, when it pops in, just stop it. Stop it immediately, because if you start thinking about tapping into retirement, it's a downhill cycle from there. But don't think about it. Make the account, inaccessible if you have to. Like, I don't know what the case is. I don't know how extreme it is for you. I don't know how much you really have a deep down desire to get that money out and pay it. But I'm telling you, it's an awful idea. There's so much to lose. Literally, in this example, $200,000 you lose. $200,000. And let's say that you're not 30 years away. Let's say you're 40 years away from retirement. 40 years, and I'm using retirement loosely because retirement could just be when you stop working. What if that's 40 years from now? What if you got 40 good years of work left in you? I don't know how much that would be, but I mean, you're looking at least $500,000, I would think. At least $500,000. So I want to give you some hope today. I want to tell you some hope, but you will be a millionaire. You will be a millionaire. I promise you, if you will follow those baby steps in order, you will be a millionaire. You will. You absolutely will be a millionaire, because compound interest is in your favor. But you've got to do the first three first. You got to have the $1,000 in an emergency fund. You got to pay off the debt. You got to build that 3 to 6 months in savings, and then start investing. Then start growing your retirement, right? Do them in that order and you will be a millionaire. I guarantee it. So if you are ready to take control of your finances and you just need a little help, maybe you want to go through and build a get out of debt plan. Maybe you want to see, how long is it going to take me to get out of debt? Like, I'm willing to stop funding my retirement. I just want to know, I just need a little help getting me out of debt. Maybe I need a little encouragement. Maybe I need a little accountability. I don't know what it is for you, but I can come in and I can be a financial coach that works directly with you, specifically with you, and we focus on your situation. I don't do a cookie cutter approach. Every single client I work with gets their own personalized products, their own personalized everything, because I want it to be specific to you. I want this to help you. So head over to thefinancialmirror.org, hit book now, and schedule a free consultation if you just want to see if I'm the right fit for you. Maybe, I can tell you if I can help or not, right? Maybe you don't waste the time, and I don't waste yours. So if you want to, head over to thefinancialmirror.org, hit book now. You can buy in 1, 3, or 6 sessions if that is something that you're interested in, but no cost to you to do a free consultation to see if it's the right fit. If you do want to give a little extra dose of support to the stream, head over to thefinancialmirror.org/shop and pick you up some awesome Financial Mirror gear. I truly, truly appreciate everyone tuning in to the show. I really hope that this gave you just a little more insight into that retirement account, gave you a little more insight into just trying to figure out another way to pay off that debt. Because I know for a fact that you can win at finances. I know for a fact you can. And if you need me to come along for the ride with you, I will do it. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe and like on the video. If you're on a podcast platform of your choice, go ahead and hit subscribe, and a 5-star review. Written comments on Apple Podcasts goes a long ways. And I truly hope that you took something away from today's episode. Until next week, continue improving the one thing you can control: yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.